month over month, we actually saw a fall, negative 0.5 month over month for April PPI. That's the headline number.
Wow.
And yes, and that's a pretty big difference. The estimate was for a jump of 0.2. So you saw a much bigger cooling of inflation at the producer price level month to month. Big surprise here. 2.4, the gain year over year. The estimate was 2.5. That's not as substantial. But then you go down to the core number, Maria. That also came in negative 0.4 on core PPI month over month. The street was looking for a gain of 0.3.
Well, I'm just going to read you this headline. Hard data suggests tariff-driven inflation and recession fears may be overblown. Now, this is not from a right-wing outlet. This is from Axios, noted outlet of data analysis and journalism. And they go through all kinds of things. Retail sales are up a little. Spending on services is up. Restaurants and bars spending up. Producer price index showed little sign of tariff-related price pressures that we've been warned about. And as you noted in the open, there's a number of things that we've seen where prices are actually coming down. So the analysis here was that the apocalyptic doom and gloom that has been predicted may not be coming true.
Yeah, well, let me read the rest.
At this point, it's a point of pride for the liberal media or media, corporate media in general, not to admit when they get things wrong, when they frame things wrongly, when they take the wrong kind of angle on it. And as you saw from the intro, wholesale inflation is actually down. And Axios released an article that's gaining a lot of traction, and I wanted to point it out here on this channel today because this is something I talk about often on my channel. I talk about how, like, I show you a guy, an economist who has a PhD in economics. I remember I did some of my economic videos. It's not as popular, but I still do them just to have a reference point. And I talk about how there's some data that suggests, the hard data is saying that Trump stuff won't cause inflation. But all these economists and these people on the mainstream media, they keep referencing survey data. And all survey data does is track an opinion, a belief of something, not the reality of something. And this is why I say that this agenda-driven kind of reporting that I accuse the journalists of being, I told you on this channel numerous times that I rather trust the internet more than I trust these television journalists. It's because journalism has become a form of activism for many liberals, and their bias has colored their thinking to the point where they don't want to give any kind of framing that could be in the benefit of Donald Trump. Hard data suggests that tariff-driven inflation and recession fears may be overblown. And I talk about this also on my channel that I'm a finance head. So I watch a lot of these finance YouTubers who just regurgitate talking points they hear on these news outlets, talking about, oh, look, we got recession fears and the tariffs and the downward pressures. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, you just blindly trust these people, right? And I know these people don't want to be political, but they have to take into account and factor in that they're getting their information from almost a politicized perspective. And all this recession fears and the fact that all these economists constantly gets proven wrong. And just like that, the predictable march backwards regarding the chorus of faux assertions claiming the impending and unavoidable financial apocalypse guaranteed to be caused by Trump's use of tariffs to secure new and equitable trade deals begins in earnest. And here's a clip that I want to show you about Walmart CEO saying that he announced that he will be raising he will be raising prices at Walmart. And I think this segment is very important for many people to listen to, is that these people selectively bring attention to data points that prove a narrative that they want to push out, but ignore other data points that pushes back at this doom and gloom kind of framing that they try to give us in the TV. I digress. Let's take a look at the clip.
Okay, 90% of Americans live within 10 miles of a store. 1 in 5 grocery dollars spent in America are spent at Walmart. There are 1.6 million people who work at Walmart. President Trump has gotten very angry whenever a company has come out and said, yeah, our prices are going to go up or our shelves are going to be empty because of your tariffs. But this is like the biggest fish, right, in the ocean. It's a big fish in a big pond, and they're saying things are going to get worse. Americans are actually going to feel it. How can this be good for a president who promised to come in and on day one make it better, right? People already can't afford it.
Well, I think we're selectively looking at the data and we're going over what Walmart said today, but there's other data. I mean, I'll just read what our friends at Axios said today. None of the data showing the kinds of recessionary or inflationary conditions implied by business and consumer surveys. I mean, I think maybe some of this is being overblown. Number one. Number two.
The data does come in on a lag. I will say that. Continue.
Well, I'm just reading you the journalism here, and I'm a pro-journalist kind of guy. and so I think maybe some of the concerns have been overblown. That's number one. Number two, we have seen some softening in the inflationary pressures. There have been some indications that some prices have been coming down in some things. Eggs, for instance, are now much lower.
Not strollers or car seats.
Okay. I mean, does the country run on
every
strollers and
single
car seats?
American family who has a child needs a car seat?
I'm just saying. I think it's.
You're talking to a couple of moms with young kids.
And I've got four.
You got 4 of them. You spent probably a fortune in your life on car seats. Okay.
I'm just telling you that I think when we're trying to, collectively trying to make a case against Trump, we selectively look at certain data, but then we ignore other data.
I'm not trying to make a case against Trump. I'm just saying things are about to get more expensive for people.
We're ignoring the massive amount of private investment that's coming into the country. We're ignoring the rebound in the stock market. We're ignoring the trade deals that have been cut and are currently being cut. So I'm not arguing that Walmart shouldn't be listened to, but at the same time, there is some indication that maybe some of these fears have been overblown. I'll just say one more thing. When inflation was raging out of control under Biden, every Democrat rushed to every television camera to argue that it was corporate greed. So I'll be interested to see if Democrats are anxious to take up Walmart on this today. Is it still corporate greed, or is it going to be total Trump blame?
And this is why Donald Trump wins. This is why Donald Trump is making, apparently I saw somewhere that New Jersey, Donald Trump is more popular than the governor of New Jersey. Make that make sense. This is why. Here's a comment. She has music in the background, so I can't really say her video, but I will quote her. He's not out here doing this for himself. He's bringing back money, which is the investment I'm talking about in the clip here that we just saw, that none of the Democrats, I don't hear none of these liberals even acknowledge the amount of investment that Donald Trump is attracting to the United States of America to offset and this is why Trump's tariff is defying gravity in the eyes of these liberal economists, because they ignore all the good things that Donald Trump does, and they don't factor that in their analysis when they're prescribing Trump recession. Remember that? I did a video how I said that the Trump recession essentially is fake. It doesn't exist. And the news media, they're the biggest culprit of this. When you remind them of their predictions in the past, they don't want to take any accountability, or they try to downplay. Oh, we wasn't dramatizing it as much as you would claim it was, Scott. And I think a lot of Americans that's why I said a lot of people, I believe, are getting tired of the dishonesty from a lot of these Democratic operatives. These journalists are Democratic operatives. When you have an institution, when you have an industry that only has 3.2% of its industry identified with conservatives or Republicans, you have a bias problem. You have a narrow vision problem. You can't see the forest from the trees. And the journalists, they don't want to be self-reflective. They don't want to call themselves out. And whenever someone does bring an opportunity for them to be humble and self-reflect and learn from the mistakes of the past, they downplay the accountability. They downplay it. And you're going to see a perfect example here in this discussion. Without further ado, let's get into the clip.
Well, I'm just going to read you this headline. Hard data suggests tariff-driven inflation and recession fears may be overblown. Now, this is not from a right-wing outlet. This is from Axios, noted outlet of data analysis and journalism. And they go through all kinds of things. Retail sales are up a little. Spending on services is up. Restaurants and bars, spending up. Producer price index showed little sign of tariff-related price pressures that we've been warned about. And as you noted in the open, there's a number of things that we've seen where prices are actually coming down. So the analysis here was that the apocalyptic doom and gloom that has been predicted may not be coming true.
Yeah, well, let me read the rest of what that Axios piece said, because here's a quote from that Axios piece from an expert. It says, the brunt of higher import taxes looks likely to arrive this summer, even with de-escalation in the last several days, and even as the underlying...
And this is where I get tired of the media, right? They get proven wrong about something and they push their date. Oh, we're going to see higher than expected job losses. We're going to see higher than expected inflation. A month ago, they were saying this about the May. Oh, look, it doesn't factor in Trump's Liberation Day. This is what caused people. The media was pushing the Trump recession because in March, if I remember correctly, no, sorry, in April, they saw that there was a negative quarter. They had a negative quarter of GDP growth. They said, oh my God, Trump recession. Then May's here. We look at the April jobs report. There was more jobs. Consumer spending is kind of stable, right? Inflation went down. Overall, wholesale inflation you saw from the clip went down in April because they were predicting, a lot of these people were predicting that because of Liberation Day on April 2nd, we were going to have a drastic increase in inflation. And that did not come to pass. And all these people, they keep trying to cite experts or business people. And they're individuals. They're humans. They can make errors. They can make mistakes. They're not they don't determine what the truth is. The data is showing you something otherwise, but instead of looking at the data, they're looking at these people and using them in this fallacy of authority to back up this framing of Donald Trump's economy.
Trajectory for inflation looks the best it has in 4 years. This is one of those things where obviously we do need to see what happens over the next few months, but it kind of reminds me of how it felt for a lot of the last 4 years.
I'm tired of these people, bro. I remember I was saying, hey, like these media people are trying to get us to do a rush to judgment on Trump's economy. And I said it myself. I was like, yo, I voted for the man. I don't trust him. I'm going to give him a year. It hasn't even been a year yet, and these people are already trying to do Trump recession. Oh, you gotta be scared, sell-offs, all this stuff. J.P. Morgan saying there's a high probability of a recession. Then a couple days later, they take back their predictions. Like they talking about on and off, on and again and off again tariffs, but these people are making on again and off again predictions, and every time they don't go their way, they want to push the goalposts. You cannot have an indefinite amount of time to be proven right. Either inflation is going to happen in April or it's not. You can't be like, oh, no, it's going to be in the summer. Then when it doesn't happen in the summer, you're going to say, oh, no, it's going to happen in the winter. Moving the goalpost.
In a lot of ways, like the data would kind of say something different from what expectations were, what people were feeling.
I'm sorry. You infer different, like end of the day, data doesn't prove a narrative, data proves a result. And people like Abby Phillips, you put a narrative or you put a conclusion around this data and you try to make the data say something that it's not really saying. That's a subjective thing. That's a you problem. That's a media problem. That's a bias problem. I digress. I'm done.
And the response to that, from people like Scott was essentially, you're not listening to people and what they're actually experiencing in their lives.
What data are you talking about? The inflation data that kept going up and up and up during her administration?
Well,
I mean, the reality is inflation was terrible, and what was coming out was Biden saying it's not terrible.
Inflation was bad, for sure. But the broader economic data of the last 4 years was that there was an expected recession that didn't happen, that in an effort to get inflation.
Biden suffered 2 negative quarters of GDP growth. You guys gaslighted all of America, denied that we were not in a recession. The media played a part in this. The media is the most dangerous entity in the Western Hemisphere. It can make a recession a prosperity and prosperity a recession. This is what y'all was doing. Oh, the data said this, the data said that. No, the data was wrong. Politico admitted that. The Guardian put out, I love quoting The Guardian. If you're new to this channel, I have an article that I love to post up here. The Guardian, almost a year ago, posted that majority of Americans falsely believed that Biden's economy was in a recession because they had all their little experts going out of their way and say, oh, this recession is different. It's not really a recession. Oh my God, I'm tired, man.
Under control, they did not have to push the economy into recession and push job losses up. So all of those things happened at the same time that people were feeling like their lives were not getting better. And that's kind of how people feel right now.
Cope. What a straw man. What? These people are feeling this way because you keep trying to push up this narrative. People felt the same way about Biden's economy, but y'all kept trying to push a narrative that it wasn't. And this is the fallacy that I'm thinking that the media people are falling into yet again, right? Because they want to sit here, tell people, oh, you voters, you're wrong about the economy. Voters, you falsely believe that the economy is in a recession. You guys were telling us this. Majority of Americans wrongly believe U.S. is in a recession and most blame Biden. They didn't want us to blame Biden because that was their guide. Their bias came into play. And now that the hard data is supporting Donald Trump's conclusions that, yo, tariff doesn't cause inflation, people are feeling like their lives are going in the right direction. People are giving Trump leeway. They keep trying to, like I remember when I was covering the Trump recession arc, the short arc of the Trump recession, these people kept going to Trump supporters and saying, do you regret your vote for Trump? Do you regret that, look, he's putting us in inflation is going up, making all these unfounded claims about Trump's economy. And Trump supporters said, nah, I don't regret my vote. Nah, I trust him. Hey, we're going to take maybe we'll take some short-term pain, but it's worth it to see it through to the end. And these people were shocked. These media people were shocked. This is how out of touch the media is. And I strongly believe liberal bias is what's really destroying this industry. It's really destroying journalism. Journalism has lost all credibility because of the fact that the people who are in this industry don't have any integrity, don't have any principles to actually uphold their jobs as journalists. 11 months ago, they put a framing. Majority of Americans wrongly believe that the U.S. is in a recession and most blame Biden. Then Politico comes out, right? Politico comes out with an article saying that voters were right about the economy. The data was wrong. Here's why unemployment is higher, wages are lower, and growth is less robust than government statistics suggest. Pretty much admitting that Biden, using government data, right? Because at the end of the day, he controls the government. He created all these fake jobs, right? An opinion piece came out from the town hall highlighting how Biden created 800,000 jobs out of thin air using the government to fluff up his numbers. Manipulation. But Abby Phillips here making excuses, downplaying it. Downplaying the fact that they try to gaslight us into believing a perception of reality that benefited the Democratic Party, which is AKA her party. And this is why many people are not trusting experts anymore. This is why public trust is on an all-time low in our institutions, because we find out many of these people who work in these institutions, majority of them are aligned with a certain political party. I'm not going to say who, but if you do your research, you'll know who I'm talking about. And they use their positions to push a perception onto the public so that way it leverage or it pushes the odds in the favor of their preferred party to win political power. That's the reality many Americans are waking up to. But I digress. I'll let you know. I'll let you hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this this inability of the media to admit when they're wrong. I'd like to hear your thoughts, comments, and perspectives in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate it if you share this video. It really does help me out in the algorithm, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.